today to begin talking about how we can get fall ready together.
Our focus is about to shift. We're about to start thinking about how we return to campus. So we want to start talking about it a little bit with you and start preparing ourselves for it. We've been away from the campus we love so much for so long now. We've probably changed our habits, and it might be time to start thinking about getting back into shape for getting up in the morning and those kind of things. So we've done a good job of staying connected and growing during this time, and that's something we're really proud of, and something that I believe is really going to help us as we begin to think about getting ready to return to campus. Now, we don't know exactly when that will be or what it might look like. We suspect it will look quite different than what we're used to. We probably won't see the number of people on buses or the number of people in dining halls that we're used to at first. So we will work together through this to be able to manage and to be able to be prepared for whatever we might face. But that's going to take us staying connected and united. That's what we've built here. We've built a connection that's strong, and we want to continue it. And we need to continue it because we need to be better than ever when we return to campus in order to support our faculty, staff, and students. So I hope you'll join us over the next several weeks as we start to shift our focus during these auxiliary connections, and we start to move into programming that we'll take a look at what things might look like when we return to campus and how we can be prepared to be the absolute best and provide our campus the absolute best service possible.
Let's remember we're all in this together, and let's get fall ready together.
Good morning, auxiliary family. If you can mute your phones for us, that will be great. It is Monday, June 8th. We're really excited that you joined us today. We've got an exciting week lined up for our afternoon programming. We're going to go back to the programming, the format of programming we did 2 weeks ago and beyond. So where it's going to be professional development sessions are more of the conversations where we learn together and then we engage in some conversation. So look forward to those. This morning, we're going to finish up with our fall readiness from the units, kind of a unit update on fall readiness. And we are joined by the business process improvement, vending, and contract management team. So we have Max and Brooke, and what's her name again? I think it's Ginny. We have Ginny on. You know the drill. So mute your phones, chatting your comments and questions. If you're on YouTube, do the same. If you're watching this later, we want to say welcome and thank you for watching. If you have any feedback, I think we're at on week 11 or so. If you have any feedback for auxiliary programming, or if you have some ideas, send them our way and we will try to incorporate them into the programming. But without much more ado, we're excited to hear from our folks in business process management, vending, and contract. So welcome y'all, and take it over.
Okay, I guess that means it's my turn. Good morning, everybody. I hope that everybody had a fantastic weekend. I hope everybody's ready to get started with a new week, Monday morning. I realize that a lot of times Mondays are not the most exciting day, but I'm going to be honest with you. For the last 7 or 8 weeks, every time Monday rolls around and we start our 10 o'clock Zoom meeting, I'm going to have to tell you, I've been pretty excited because I realize when every Monday rolls around, we're that much closer to getting back on campus. And I think we're all ready for that. We're not quite there yet. We still got to be patient for a little bit longer, but we will get there. You know, we've been doing this, Julia told me earlier, this is our 11th week of doing this. 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock every day. I've participated in just about every session that we've had, enjoyed them. One of the things that I have done from time to time in the midst of listening, and sometimes I will tap the participant button just to kind of see who's on board with us. And when I've done that, I've scrolled down the list, and obviously there are many names on that list that I recognize, that I know, that know me. However, there are names on that list that I don't know, that I want to get to know, and I realize that those people don't know me either. So what I thought I would do quickly for those people that don't know me, I thought I would do just a very quick bio of who I am, so that when we get a chance to meet face to face, and I hope that happens very soon, when we get a chance to meet, you'll know a little bit about me, and hopefully I can learn more about you. So to get started, I was born way back in 1949 in Statesboro, Georgia. But I promise you, we're not going to go back that far, primarily because I don't remember a whole lot that far back. We're going to fast forward to 1983. That was the year that my wife and our children and myself moved to Athens. So we have actually been in Athens now for 37 years. Now, prior to that, we lived in the small South Georgia town that I was raised in, called Eastman, Georgia. For those of you that are geography buffs and might not know where Eastman is, if you find Macon, which is kind of in the center part of the state, go about 60 miles due south of Macon, and you're going to find Eastman, Georgia, in Dodge County. Now, there are those in our building, Brett Jackson being one, that claim that I have somewhat of a South Georgia accent. I'm not sure about that. I think that's her opinion only. But let's continue to move forward. The wife that I mentioned, I've had for 49 and a half years. Now, you don't have to do a whole lot of math to realize that the next anniversary is the big one, the big 50. And I will say that I am open to suggestions as far as what I need to do to celebrate that big 50th anniversary event. So any suggestions would be appreciated. All right, those three children that I mentioned are all grown now, all married, all in their 40s. And the most wonderful thing about that is those three couples have given us 7 fantastic grandchildren. The youngest being 7, almost 7, and the oldest being 13. And the youngest happens to be another Max. So we're proud of that. We're proud of all 7 of the grandkids. And I think it's pretty obvious that we love being grandparents. I want to tell you about something else that I love. When I meet people that don't know me and will tend to ask, well, what do you do? Where do you work? I love being able to tell people that I work at the University of Georgia. And even beyond that, I love telling people that I'm part of an auxiliary services team at the University of Georgia. We all should be very proud of the fact that we're a part of this team. We're extremely fortunate to be a part of the Auxiliary Services team, and I hope we all know that, and I think we do. I think that we do. Let's move forward a little bit. I've been on campus since January of 2006. The first 10 years that I was on campus, I was actually the manager of the printing department. Some of you may know me from back in those days. And for the past 4.5 years, I've been the business process manager at Auxilary Services. The neat thing about going back to 2006, I still remember people that I met the first couple of months that I was on campus that I still see quite frequently that are part of our Auxiliary Services team. I think about Matt Peterson at the golf course. I think about David Helwig, who's now at Transportation and Parking. I think about Ginny Hamilton, who at that time was at Bulldog Bucks. I think about Sherry Bone, who was at Auxiliary Services then and is back at Auxiliary Services now. I've been very fortunate to have developed a lot of friends here at the university, and I look forward to continue doing that. I love people. I love getting to know people, and it's another reason that I'm excited about the time that we finally get back to campus. Okay, so after the 10 years at printing, I came to Auxiliary as business process manager. So I know some of you are probably saying, okay, what is a business process manager? Well, I could I could give you a fairly complex answer to that, but I'm going to keep it simple in line with what we're doing this morning. First of all, whenever possible, I like to keep things as simple as possible. So my simple definition of being a business process manager is it's my responsibility to make absolutely sure that I can do everything within my power to make sure that we're doing everything that we do within Auxillary the very best that we can do. Now, obviously, that is a continuing process. The day that we get to the point that we say it doesn't get any better than this, we have reached the pinnacle. We're the best of the best. The day that we say that is the day that we're in trouble. There is always room for improvement. One of the oldest cliches in the book is an important cliche, and that is we might not ever be perfect, but we can certainly strive for perfection. And that's what we want to do every day. Now, there would be those that would look at my position and look at what I do, and they might say, you know, Max is kind of a one-man show. And I guess if you wanted to, you could look at it from that perspective. However, I don't look at it that way. The way I look at it is if we're all striving to make Auxiliary Services the best that we can be, then I look at it as every single one of you as being on my team. We're all teammates together. So don't sit back and look at me and think that I'm a one-man show. I'm about as far away from that as you can get. I look at every one of you and everybody that's not even on board this morning as being part of my team. And I'm very privileged to be a part of that team. One of the things that I get to do in my position is I get to work very closely with 3 different people that have totally different job responsibilities. Those 3 people are Brooks Oliver, who's our contract manager, Ginny Hamilton, who's our grants professional, and John Hall, who is our vending and solicitation manager. Now, I'm going to give each one of these individuals an opportunity to tell you a little bit about what they do. They'll open it up to questions when they finish. And when they're finished and you're finished with your questions for them, we'll move to the next person and so forth. So Brooks, without further ado, I'm going to get you to start this off, and then Jenny will follow you.
Thank you, Max. Appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. As Max said, I'm Brooks Oliver. Many of you might know me from being purchasing manager for dining services. I joined UGA team in 2008 as the purchasing manager at Central Food Storage. And I've been in my current role as contract manager for Auxillary since last spring, so a little over a year. My job is to consult, facilitate, and manage the many contracts within Auxiliary Services. There are many. They are far-reaching. They include, of course, dining, working with Chris Fagan and Susan Van Geech there, vending, golf course, transit, parking, and then as well, any that Auxiliary Services as a whole utilizes, and that includes, of course, the bookstore. I also work with procurement and legal as well with the Auxiliary team. My main job, and it's been this way for a while, is help formulate requests for proposal, requests for quotes, and bids for services and products pertaining to various auxiliary projects. We manage vendor relations and performance management of those vendors to ensure excellent customer service and goal achievement. My role in supporting all of the Auxiliary Services team and ensure we are fall ready will include several bullet points. One is to guide and facilitate any needs, supplies, vendors, services, things of that nature to ensure we meet our goals for excellent customer service. So even though the picture will change from when we left in February, March to when we come back, the goal is still the same, and that is to provide excellent customer service to our students, faculty, and staff and guests. We have to make sure that we as a team do that, and I will do everything in my power to help facilitate that, whether it be us face first in front of customers or with vendors that provide services to our customers and to us. Bottom line for Auxiliary Services is that customer service. Before we return to campus, it'll be important to ensure that all vendors that we deal with are aware of our expectations in regards to service, safety for all, and new processes that will be in place. And those processes are still being written right now, so that we can't send those out to our vendors yet. But at that point, we will, and we'll make sure, we have to make sure that those vendors understand how important those are. There will also be new service opportunities, things that we didn't even think about back in February and March that we will need now. So we'll have to facilitate either the purchase or contractual agreement for that, and I'll be helping with that as well. We'll need to ensure that all vendors and contractors are service ready. We've been what you might want to call offline now for the months that we've been away. We need to make sure that all the vendors that we relied on this past year in February, March, all the way up till closing are ready to get back at it when we open back up. And, we do have, those are partnerships. We want to make sure, we want to communicate with them openly and make sure that any existing contracts, they understand that the needs of those contracts, as well as what our expectations are and what they can do. Services may change, the processes may change a little bit as far as safety and security, but at the same time, we still need those processes in place. One of the things that we're going to need to be as a team, and we've talked about it several times over the past couple of sessions, is flexibility and proactivity. The flexibility and proactivity for us, as well as our vendors and our contractors, is going to be key. Things are going to change. Things are going to change day to day, hour by hour. We need to make sure that our vendors and our contractors understand that they need to be flexible. They need to communicate any issues. We need to communicate anything with them, and to ensure that that customer experience is still seamless no matter what. And then as well, communication amongst our team is going to be huge. We really don't know, those of us in a support role, are we going to be on campus? Are we going to be working remote, part-time, part-time on campus, part-time off? We don't know that. But the bottom line is we still have to be available, be communicating on a daily, hourly basis to all parties. And so we're going to have to be a little more proactive in our communication, reaching out on a daily basis to ensure that everybody knows, that we're here. Any questions they have, any needs they have, please let us know. We may not be able to do all the face-to-face meetings and things of that nature, but at the same time, we can still be that engaged person and party that we need to be. A couple things I'm working on right now, designated as a liaison with Dining Services, Central Food Storage, to ensure that all the auxiliary services groups have adequate PPE and sanitizing supplies. I sent out an email on Friday to many of the managers with a link and to a website that was designed by Brian Gibbs at Central. It allows each unit or each group to place an online order for supplies. Those include hand sanitizer, wipes, things like that. Those supplies will be delivered to the units normally on the same day of ordering, as long as the order was done before noon. And then, of course, next day if it was done after noon. It's a very detailed list. The supply chain for that list is still fluid. So we have adequate supplies right now, but we have to be flexible come when school starts and we're back in the fall to ensure that we communicate that any shortages, any supply chain issues are there, but we will do that as well. And really, that's my piece. As it's always been said, anything I can do to help you or your teams, please don't hesitate to call. Whether it be in contracts, whether it be whatever it might be. I mean, I think I've been around on the bus for a while here, and I kind of know how a lot of things work. But if you need a voice, if you need an ear, if you need help, if you need to know who to call, just shoot me an email, give me a call, whatever, however you want to do it. Don't hesitate to reach out. And that's mine.
We did have one question for you that came in, Brooks.
Sure. I think I saw Tamala chiming in there.
She asked, how often are contracts revisited or revised? Have you ever had to terminate a contract due to lack of compliance?
Oh, yeah. Contracts, they're constantly under review because you have to make sure that, the vendor is meeting the goals and objectives of the contract. But as well, they're being revised is that happens. We've revised a few since spring, but at the same time, they don't get revised very often because we don't have issues such as what we've had with the shutdown and the expectations that we've had. The revisions that we made to those contracts benefited the vendor, but as well, we still worked it as a partnership. We've had longstanding relationships with these vendors, and this basically was it's a catastrophic change to business, and so we worked with them on that. I have had several contracts that I've had to cancel due to lack of performance. I can look back on one of my first ones, even as purchasing manager, was carpet cleaning. It was a bid process, and the low bidder, which is one of the challenges with low bids, unless you stipulate exactly what you need from that vendor, you have a chance of a low bid coming out with non-performance. And there were a few small, we'll call them loopholes, or things that were missed in the bid, and the vendor couldn't meet our needs. And so, and they even knew it. They knew they couldn't meet our needs. So we came to an agreement that they were going to no longer be our carpet cleaner. But we've gotten better as over time, and I've gotten better as a bid writer to ensure that we set standards that are so high that not everybody can join the club. And so that's, and we already had the high standards. It's just making sure you understand all the layers of the onion and how that affects everybody. Hopefully that answered your question.
And we had a few more come in while you were talking. I think you got some people's minds brewing.
Cool, good.
When reviewing a contract, what things do you look for as far as what will be best for the organization before giving a yes or a no?
Well, the main thing to do is do as much of your homework up front. When we sit down and we want to explore a contract for a specific service or a product, we have to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row as far as our expectations, not only just for the individual contract itself, but over the length of time and possible changes in business model. And so we go through all those different facets before we even put one out to make sure that we have projected out expectations and change in business model. Now, of course, nowadays with what we've gone through in the past few months, nobody could have really projected that. Some people might say that, but in our side of the business, we wouldn't have projected that. But I think mainly it's having that conversation with all parties to ensure, and then as well doing your homework on the vendor or the service itself, and making sure that what's available out there, and you can then put that into the contract or the bid process to ensure that you've covered all your bases.
Great insight there. And then the last one that we got was, since we are a state organization, do we always have to go with the low bidder, even if we know someone else offers a better product?
Good question. again, and it's one of those things where, yes, the low bid, as long as it's a qualified bid, will usually always win the bid. If it's not qualified, if somebody comes in, if we ask, we'll go back to my carpet cleaning example. If we asked for somebody to come in and clean carpets in our dining commons, which of course now we don't have many with carpet, but at that time we did. We stipulate that they have references of food establishments where the carpet was over 10,000 square feet that they've been in under contract with for 1 year. So, of course, in the state of Georgia and of course in Athens, there's nobody that has square footage carpet that meets that expectation. We got a lot of people that responded that they do businesses, but businesses don't have ketchup on the floor and don't have the hours that we need. They can go in at 10 o'clock at night and clean carpets. So the main thing is we want to go with what meet the goals, but as well, the value that we get from that vendor. We've got a vendor now, while they're not perfect, they still meet our needs. They have experience, and a lot of the experiences with us. And they know that, bottom line is when they leave, the carpet has to be clean. To say that, to get back to your original question, low bid, there's going to probably be the low bid because low bid is usually the best value. We want to save the state money. And even though we are self-generating on income, we're still looking at saving ourselves money and ensuring that we get the best price for the service. The key is you just have to make sure that you mapped out the exact service that you need, whether it be the timeline, whether it be when the facility is available, such as for cleaning purposes, or for a specific product, that you have the details of that product in there to where, and you put in there no substitutions for that product. So you're getting the best product for the best price at the time you need it.
We had a request come in from Brett to speak to the contract with Premier and your involvement in making that happen for us.
Okay. I can put a little bit into that. And maybe, I won't pull Susan Van Geech into this conversation, but she's going to be a big part of it as well. Premier is a group purchasing organization, which we joined, it's been 2-3 years now. And just a bit of quick history. When I joined in 2008 and prior to that, Central Food Storage was the main food supplier for all of the UGA dining units. It's a 27,000 square foot warehouse. We pushed out probably $1 million in food and supplies every month. And so we were the central facilitator for food and supplies. In order to change, we changed our business model, to reallocate that space, and space is, of course, at a minimum on campus. We joined Premier, and Premier is primarily their main focus, or at least their original main focus, was medical supplies, but they also have a food supply arm that, and the benefit to a specific location such as ours is that we go with a sole provider, and that sole provider is US Foods, which already had done probably 40 to 50% of our business anyway, so they were very familiar with our university. But as well, there's buying power, because it's not just us. In the past, it was just us. I facilitated bids for all the products that we purchased when I needed to, and so it was just our buying power was getting our pricing. With a GPO, it's a large group of buyers. There's universities, restaurants, hospitals, facilities all over the country that are. So if I'm buying a specific hamburger, it's not just me, but they offer a hamburger that millions and millions and millions of pounds are being purchased. So if I'm the source for that hamburger, I'm going to give you the best prices possible because there's such buying power. And that's really what a GPO or group purchasing organization brings to the table, is that they go to the manufacturers with such great buying power because there's so many buyers of those products. And so there are certain benefits to it as well for performance. I mean, we're a very large purchaser of food and supplies. So, and as well with multiple locations to be delivered to. It was a great change for us. It eliminated the need for utilizing the space at Central Food Storage, which I think was it 27,000 square feet, for bringing in and keeping millions of dollars of food on the shelf every month. Now we moved that food pretty quick, but at the same time, we still had to write a check and sit on it, for at least 2 months. We turn our inventory every 2 months or so. And then that'll allow us also to refit Central Food Storage over time into a more productive facility and allow us to ensure that we're looking into the future as far as the growth and the production and being able to do things more ourselves. I mean, we buy a lot of things that are pre-made or pre-cut or pre-done. We can do some of that ourselves and have savings there as well, and freshness. So, but Premier itself it's been a good partnership. We've gone through some growing pains and some back and forth, but at the same time, that's natural for any partnership like that, especially with the size and volume that we purchase from them. And they're doing some things for us that they don't do for others, and they've learned some things from us. So we have, like I said, good partnership, good work, and I think it's a good long-term partnership for us as well.
Okay, great. Ellie had asked a question about working with a vendor if we were working with a vendor that we feel is not doing what we need them to do, what should we do? And Brett had chimed in on that one in the comments that, you've got to document. And typically issues can be managed if we have documented those issues.
Yeah, and that's really it. Again, all these contracts, whether it's bid out or not, they're still partnerships. And so we have to have that ability to sit down and talk with a vendor, and we do it. I won't say we do it on a regular basis because most, 95% of our vendors meet or exceed our expectations. There are those vendors out there that don't. And so we document every year. Procurement will send me or the participating manager. So whether it's John for vending or somebody else, it's a contract assessment report, and we have to, and it's the state requires us to fill that out. And so we review the performance of that contract each year before renewal. The state guidelines are the way our contracts work. They're 1-year contracts with the opportunity for 4 renewals. So it's entails, if it's good performance all the way through, it can be a 5-year contract. But it also allows us to, at the end of a year to say, you know what, this isn't working. We'll go ahead and go in a different direction. As long as we've documented the performance and we've had conversations, and you do it the same way you do a performance review for an employee. You don't wait until the performance review to assess performance. You do it on a regular basis. You have communication. You have the back and forth. Hey, this isn't working, or hey, I see you were late a couple times. On, you said you'd be here by 4 to clean the hoods, and you weren't here. We go from there and we do that. And because just like you and I, if we don't know how we're performing until the day we receive our performance appraisal, you can't really fix those things. So we give them the opportunity to fix it, correct it. They may not know they're doing it wrong, or they may not know, or our expectations have changed, and we have to go to them and say, hey, we know the contract says this, but can you give us, can we adjust the contract and make a change to it? Can you get there earlier? Can you get there later? Can you do this additional job? Can you provide an additional product? Things of that nature. So it's key to have that communication, and then as well document anything that doesn't meet your expectations, but share that documentation too, because you have to give them the right to fix what's wrong. If they don't, then we take it in a different direction.
Yeah. So obviously this is one of those really complex areas. And I do want to remind everybody that Brooks did a whole presentation on contracts and what he does. He had his own little time slot for one of our morning sessions, and that recording is available online for you to go back and review also. We'll go ahead and Max, who is next up? Oh, let's unmute you. That would help.
Julia?
Yes. There you go.
Ginny, yeah, Ginny is next.
Okay.
Okay, am I on?
You are.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Ginny Hamilton. I have been with the university for, wow, 20 years this year. Some fun facts. I have a BBA in marketing from Augusta State University, an MBA in management from Brenau. I also have a minor in biology, and in a previous life, I was an EMT and rescue diver for United States Drag Boat Association. I started out working at the university at the UGA Foundation. I was an administrative assistant for the Department of Development and a department called Advancement Services. Since then, I worked as the budget analyst at the Institute of Higher Education, and then I had an amazing opportunity to participate and be a part of the startup of Bulldog Bucks with Auxilary Services. I really loved and enjoyed being the business manager of Bulldog Bucks, but as things evolve, I must as well. So as of December of last year, I became the grants professional. This is a brand new position with Auxilary Services. Before being hired as a grants professional, I assisted a team put together by Don Walter in helping write the grant we received for more electric buses. This was an exciting learning opportunity. It showed me that I really wanted to write grants for a living. This new role helps find funding for each one of the units within Auxilary. With the support of Auxilary Services, Robert Holden, Brett Jackson, Max Harrell, to name a few, I was given the opportunity to take several classes for certifications to enhance my skills in grant writing. Currently, I am very involved in the process of receiving funding for the electric bus grant, working closely with Don Walter, Ton Bourbon, and Thomas Duke with Transportation and Parking Services. In order to get the funding, we are working with Athens Transit, Georgia Department of Transportation, and UGA Sponsored Projects Association, what we call SPA. We have many federal guidelines to adhere to, policies to be followed, and paperwork to be completed. So this is not going to be an easy task. So although many of you have heard the word grant from being in an educational environment, I would like to elaborate with a quick synopsis of what is a grant, what is a grant maker, and what does a grants professional do? So let's start with a grant. A grant is a financial award given by the federal, state, local government authority, companies and foundations for beneficial ideas and projects to provide public services to stimulate the economy. Wow, that's a mouthful, isn't it? Grants support critical recovery initiatives, innovative research, and many other programs. It's effectively a gift. It does not include technical assistance or other financial assistance, such as a loan or a loan guarantee. The grantee is not expected to repay the money, and that's what we like here at University on Auxilary. We don't want to have to pay it back. We just want to get some grant money, right? So most grant opportunities through the grants.gov website are currently focused upon reacting to the national pandemic in which we all have been impacted. Therefore, we are searching in more specific areas for fundings through direct government agencies like USDA, PGA, and companies like Georgia Power. There's many more, I promise you. The grant maker makes grants. They identify an opportunity to donate funds through a grant. The team creates guidelines such as eligibility criteria, geographic or program area priorities, project budget, and a timeline. Additionally, they include criteria for how applications will be evaluated. The grant maker team also decides if applications will be open to the public as a request for proposal, or if the team will reach out to a select group of nonprofit organizations. So in working with the golf course, we have several grant opportunities coming up in the future, and we are looking in the areas of environmental turf management, sustainability, and educational opportunities. In working with transportation and parking services, we are looking for opportunities for solar power, electric solutions for paratransit, and more electric buses to increase our fleet and decrease the carbon footprint, making our environment cleaner. With dining services, we are searching for sustainability opportunities in areas of composting, produce, and dining safety opportunities. I am still learning in depth about each one of our units in order to find the best opportunities for auxiliary services needs and to help our environment. I must be able to understand the needs of both the department in need of funding and the organization that's offering the grant. So if anyone has any suggestions or ideas or knows of any funding opportunities, please let me know. I will be glad to do the research and see if the funding is available and see if we are eligible to compete for the funding. I'll give you an example. Susan Van Geech sent me an email about an opportunity for a potential grant earlier this year. A colleague at UMass Amherst was working with the Henry P. Kendall Foundation with a grant to build a stronger local food system. Well, I immediately reached out to the Henry P. Kendall Foundation and found out we did not qualify. It's a great opportunity, but it's only available to the specific Boston region. But that's okay. Suggestions such as these give me ideas of areas of need and more tools for researching funding opportunities. As we think bigger, in my mind, the sky is the limit, and I am excited for the opportunities to come. So now what do I do as a grant writer? Well, the function of a grant writer is to gather documentation and fulfill the necessary requirements of various funding bodies to formally seek funding on behalf of the agency, Auxiliary Services. A grant writer must be an excellent researcher who not only finds the funding organizations whose grant matches with their goals, but an astute writer and knows how to properly appeal to the funding organization. I'm a problem solver. I love to research and write, which is why I changed gears from a business manager to a grants professional. I am very passionate about my work. But being a grants professional does not stop at the application process. Once the grant application is applied, we wait and hope for it to be awarded. Once awarded, there are many more steps to take before getting funded, such as a pre-award phase, award phase, and then a post-award phase. Due to the financial straits we're heading into, this position is going to be very important to identify additional resources for funding. To be fall ready, I'll be able to continue to work from home easily and come into work as needed. The transition for me was easy, and I'm willing to continue doing so for as long as needed. In order to stay connected, I believe phone conversations, continued Zoom meetings will be very important for communication, and if necessary, meeting in person with safe social distancing and masks. My goal and strategy will be to continue to diligently search for and implement grants we qualify, as well as continue to move forward with working with SPA and our teams with current grants. If we're going to truly elevate the G, we need to remember to think bigger. By the way, Robert, I really would love a think bigger shirt, size medium. The sky's the limit. Reach out to me or your supervisor with ideas. This goes for everyone. We are here to support each other and lift each other up. I'm always available via email, phone, Zoom, or in person as needed. So does anyone have any questions as to what a grant maker, a grant, or what a grants professional does? Thanks, Robert. I saw your message about getting a shirt. So Julia, are there any questions out there?
Let's see. Tamala asked, I think in reference to maybe the bus grant, where there's several organizations vying for those grants, and if so, what gives us the deciding edge?
Wow, that's a really good question, Tamala. Yes, there's always many organizations vying for grants, and it's all in the presentation. It's how we word things and how much we show them our need. So yeah, so the deciding edge is how we present ourselves to the grant facility, whoever's presenting the grant. Did that answer your question, Tamala?
Yeah, she says yes.
Okay.
Do you use a national grant database, and how do you seek out and become aware of the grants that are available?
Okay, so yes, grants.gov is one major database to be used. There's one called Pivot. Then there's the foundation grant availability, Professional Grants Association that we use at the University Library. But that's more for nonprofit organizations. So then every company, usually like Georgia Power, they offer a grant every year, and United States or PGA for golf grants. So there's always different individuals, groups, and companies that are offering grants to be applied. So that's why it's just such a huge, broad database. In order to find these, I start with grants.gov, start with Pivot, and then I expand from there.
Okay, I was gonna open Don's mic for a second, see his insight from that side of things. Don, are you able to comment on the bus grant? There we go.
Sure, thanks for asking me. We do have tremendous advantage when it comes to our ability to get grants. And I've mentioned this before, we can tell tremendous stories. We've gotten actually more than the 2 bus grants. We got a grant for the new lighting in the south deck, $240,000. And we told the story there because our bulbs were so antiquated. It was illegal for us to replace the light bulbs at the time. So there was a lot of advantage to energy efficiency and sustainability, and people love to hear that kind of stuff. So we have a lot of advantages, and I wrote a note in the comments. Does that help?
Awesome, thank you. Somebody else had asked, Richard had asked Jenny, do grants hold certain stipulations that must be followed? Like, I know you can't use a grant for electric buses and then use the money for the diesel ones. Was just wondering if there are other rules.
So yes, there are rules. So like I stated earlier, we have federal guidelines to follow for the electric buses. So they have given us a list of compliance items, and we will comply. So therefore, the electric buses, the ones that we received from the Georgia Department of Transportation grant, will have specific guidelines that we follow for those buses. Don, do you want to help out and chime in with that one?
Sure, Jenny. I don't want to hijack y'all's presentation, but another advantage that we have now is that we are proven. What we say we can do, we do. If you're a federal agency that is going to hand out millions of dollars of money, you want to make sure that money is going to be used for the purpose that you allocate it for. And you also want to make sure that the people who are using the money can use the money right, and that they're going to provide results. If they would grant some money to an agency that failed, and didn't deliver, that could make the newspapers, it would make the government look very inefficient. And so now we have proven ability through, and we've actually gotten 4 grants. We got grants for electric vehicle charging stations also, and every single grant we've gotten has been remarkably successful. So now with this latest federal grant, to make sure that we will be successful and that we're using the money right, there is all kinds of paperwork and bureaucratic things that we need to do. And a lot of them are actually going to be really good for transit. For instance, we need to get specialized ADA disability training. We need to enhance our drug and alcohol testing, and quite a number of other training sessions that we need to do. So it'll actually be very good for transit. But thanks for letting me answer that question.
Absolutely, thank you. So I'm going to answer Shatirika's question real quick. Are there grants for workers? There are grants out there for many different reasons, different things, for school, for going to college, everything like that. But the grants we are specifically looking for are going to be geared towards businesses. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Max, who's now going to be John Hall for the next few minutes.
Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate that. This is the first surprise of the morning. John Hall was actually due up next. Unfortunately, John was called out of town to take care of some family business. I'm more fun to look at anyway, so we should be okay. John Hall is our vending and solicitation manager. So really, John kind of wears 2 hats. As far as his vending hat goes, John is responsible for over 400 vending machines spread throughout campus that are located in over 150 different buildings. So just from that, you can see that John kind of has his hands full as far as overseeing all of those machines and so forth. Now, one of the exciting things that's happened to John in the last year is John was extremely involved in our formation of putting micro markets on campus. If you haven't visited one of our micro markets, I would highly suggest that you do so. They are quite a unique way of getting snacks. Micro markets are self-checkout entities. The advantage of a micro market, say over a bank of vending machines, is that within a micro market, you can carry many more products. You can carry sandwiches, for instance. You can carry cold items, fantastic coffee items, frozen items. So there are many advantages to micro markets. We're excited that we're actually on the leading edge of micro markets on college and university campuses. In fact, not too long ago, John had the opportunity of presenting a webinar for NACUS, and we've certainly heard about NACUS in the past as far as our national organization. So I'm proud to say that as far as campuses go, we're right out there, like I say, on the leading edge. Presently, we have micro markets in 4 locations on campus. We're in Adderhole Hall, we're in the Biosciences building, we're in Vet Med, and we're also over on the Health Sciences campus in Russell Hall. Now, the good news is these have gone over so well that we have plans certainly in the next 6 to 12 months of adding another 3 or 4 micro markets. So if you haven't visited one yet, it won't be too much longer before you'll have an opportunity to visit one, because we're going to be in other locations as well as the 4 that we're in now. As far as getting fall ready for vending, John's chief responsibility, I'm sure, is going to involve safety, as far as cleaning and sanitizing the equipment, which is something that we've always done in the past, but we certainly haven't had to do it in the same realm that we're going to have to do it beginning this fall. John will be working closely with our partner, Coca-Cola United, and decisions will need to be made as far as who is going to be responsible for making those common touch points sanitized. We want everybody that goes to a vending machine or everybody that goes in a micro market to feel like they're in a safe environment. And that will be one of the things that John will be working heavily in over the next few weeks and months. Now, the other hat that John wears is his solicitation hat. Now, interestingly enough, when it comes to solicitation and as far as our policies involved with solicitation, a lot of people think that those policies came from Auxilary Services. Some people think they might have come from the president's office, but both of those are wrong. Our solicitation policy actually was developed at USG, at the Board of Regents office. So the policies that we have to follow as far as solicitation go actually started and were developed at USG. The one thing that they want to do, and the one thing that John has to watch out for, we don't want to have our campus to become commercialized. So John is constantly looking, making sure that everybody is adhering to those policies. And another thing that John does, which I think is beneficial, John educates, especially student organizations, from time to time, making sure that those student organizations understand what the rules are as far as solicitation goes, so that when they want to plan an event, hopefully they're going to be within those guidelines. So John does a great job. Sorry he can't be here with us this morning. If you have questions regarding vending or solicitation, I will be happy to see if I can answer those. And if I can't, when John gets back, we'll make sure John answers those questions. So Julia, any questions regarding vending or solicitation?
I don't see any yet. We did have somebody say that they've used one over at Russell Hall at the Health Science campus, and it was really easy to use. So,
all right, fantastic. I know that Julia, I know that you and Catherine and Randolph have tried to keep us on schedule as far as getting done by 11 o'clock, and I see that we're getting close on time. So I'm not John anymore. I'm not pretending to be John Hall. I'm back to Max again. So let me close this by saying this. I mentioned before that I think all of us should have as our goal trying to make Auxiliary Services the absolute best that it can be. I'm interested in what you have to say. I'm interested in your ideas. I'm interested in your suggestions. One of the things that I didn't have time to mention was some of the projects and some of the programs that we have going on within Auxiliary I'm involved with, and I would love to talk to you about them. We've talked about stepping stones in the past. I'm involved with stepping stones, would love to talk to you. We have a fantastic student partners group that I'm involved with, would love to talk to you about that. 2 years ago, we started our Share the Vision events. I was fortunate to be involved with that program from the ground level. So there are a lot of things that I'd love to talk to you about. As I mentioned earlier, I love meeting people. I love getting to know people. And here's the deal about that. I think most of you know where the Auxiliary Services building is. If you don't know where it is, ask somebody. When you walk in the front door, you take about 2 steps, look to your right, there I am. Easiest person in the building to find. So as we move forward, as we get back on campus, stop by to see me. Like I say, I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I'm always interested in hearing suggestions, ideas, and so forth. And like I said, I'm extremely easy to find. So that just gives me another reason to look forward to getting back on campus. I look forward to meeting you. And Julia, I'll close it out with that. I think it's about 11 o'clock.
yeah, you're right on schedule. Thanks, Max, Jenny, and Brooks for being with us this morning and giving us lots to think about. And thank you, everybody, for being here with us. Be sure to join us again at 2 p.m. this afternoon for a session on discovering your strengths, part 1. So hope everyone has a great rest of their day, and we will see you again at 2. Bye, y'all.
I think it.